Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Donald Trump confirms US forces carried out another strike against narco-terrorists in Caribbean. Colombia accuses US of violation of its sovereignty. No Kings protests draw massive crowds across the United States to decry Trump, denounce what they view as authoritarian tendencies. World-renowned museum Louvre in Paris closed after robbers flee with priceless jewelry. Afghanistan and Pakistan agreed to an immediate ceasefire during talks hosted by Doha. US President Donald Trump said on Saturday that the United States is sending the two survivors of a Thursday strike in the Caribbean to their home countries of Colombia and Ecuador to be detained and prosecuted. Trump said on Truth Social that the two surviving terrorists are being returned to their countries of origin, Ecuador and Colombia, for detention and prosecution. Both men have arrived home, according to authorities from the two South American countries. Colombian President Gustavo Petro accused the United States of violating Colombia's sovereignty and killing a fisherman in a recent military strike. The strike occurred in Colombian waters while the fisherman was fishing in the Caribbean. Petro condemned the US for conducting operations without proof that the victims were involved in drug trafficking. Qatar's foreign ministry announced on Sunday that Afghanistan and Pakistan have agreed on an immediate ceasefire following high-level talks in Doha. Mediated by Qatar and Turkey, the Saturday negotiations led by Pakistan's Defense Minister Khwaja Asif and Afghanistan's Mullah Muhammad Yaqoob aim to end a week of deadly clashes along their 2,600-kilometer border. The violence, triggered by Islamabad's demands for Kabul to curb cross-border militants, killed over 50 and wounded hundreds, including civilians. A 48-hour truce extended Friday, held despite alleged Pakistani airstrikes in Paktika province, which Kabul decried as violations. Both sides pledged follow-up meetings to sustain the ceasefire, establish verification mechanism and foster lasting peace. Millions of people took to the streets across US on Saturday in No Kings marches opposing President Trump, with demonstrations unfolding in more than 2,500 cities across all 50 states and several European capitals. Protesters in Washington, D.C. gathered near the National Mall to protest against Trump's policies. "This is what democracy looks like," chanted thousands near the US Capitol, where the federal government was shut down for a third week amid a legislative deadlock. The rally in New York City's iconic Times Square drew thousands of people as the rally began on Saturday. The streets and the subway entrances were densely packed with people holding up signs and slogans like "Democracy, not monarchy." In Chicago, demonstrators filled the streets as Donald Trump's administration asked the U.S. Supreme Court on Friday to allow his deployment of National Guard troops to Illinois as the Republican president moves to dispatch military personnel to a growing number of Democratic-led locals and expand the use of armed forces for domestic purposes. Protesters spanning all age groups took to the streets in Seattle for No Kings rallies, denouncing what they view as authoritarian tendencies and unbridled corruption of President Trump. Protesters also rallied in Atlanta, denouncing Trump with a No Kings message amid accusations of authoritarianism and threats to democracy. Crowds also packed the streets of Los Angeles as part of the No Kings rallies. Protesters said they fear the deployment of troops and policy rollbacks mark a deeper erosion of civil liberties. Prominent Democrats including Senator Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren as well as Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer joined protesters in several cities, framing the day's marches as a defense of democracy and civil liberties.
In the year 2025, in this dangerous moment in American history, our message is exactly the same. No, President Trump, we don't want you or any other king to rule us. Thank you very much, but we will maintain our democratic form of society. We will not move toward authoritarianism in America. We, the people, will rule. We rejected the divine right of kings in the 1770s. We will not accept the divine right of oligarchs today.
As cities across the U.S. host No Kings rallies, anti-Trump demonstrators also gathered near the U.S. consulate in Toronto on Saturday for the No Tyrants protests. Some 300 protesters held signs and dressed up in costumes as they spoke out against what participants view as President Donald Trump's autocratic tendencies and anti-democratic actions. In Germany, protesters gathered in Berlin on Saturday to participate in a No Kings event opposing U.S. President Trump's policies. The demonstration, part of a broader global mobilization, featured attendees holding signs, wearing costumes and waving flags. Berlin participants emphasized the international significance of the protests. And world-renowned Louvre Museum in Paris was closed on Sunday following a daring robbery that targeted its historic ornaments. The French Interior Ministry confirmed the thieves broke into the museum through a window and stole jewelry pieces with inestimable heritage value before escaping on motorbikes. The investigation has started. Officials are making a list of the stolen items. Officials said beyond their market value, these items have inestimable heritage and historical value. No injuries were reported either among the public or among Louvre staff or law enforcement officers. The museum announced it would remain closed for the entire day due to exceptional reasons. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu convened a cabinet meeting on Sunday to vote on officially naming the Gaza war as the War of Redemption. The conflict that started after a Hamas-led surprise attack on Israeli border communities on October 7, 2023 was initially named Iron Swords by the Israeli army.
Today, I'm submitting for government approval the proposal to give the war a permanent official name, the War of Redemption. This is the War of Redemption of our people as a direct continuation of the War of Independence. We are also about to award medals of valor and citations to our brave soldiers and commanders. As in previous military campaigns, the decorations for the current campaign will bear the official name of the War of Redemption.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office announced that the Rafah border crossing between Gaza and Egypt will remain closed until further notice. The decision hinges on Hamas fully complying with ceasefire terms, particularly handing over the remains of all 28 deceased hostages. Only 12 have been returned so far, including 2 more late Saturday via the Red Cross. This comes after the Palestinian embassy in Cairo announced the crossing's planned reopening for Gazans returning from Egypt, but Israel refuted it swiftly, citing security and truce integrity. The U.S. brokered ceasefire mandates increased aid flows and reconstruction. Aid trucks queue on Egypt's side, but entries rerouted through Israeli-controlled Kerem Shalom, averaging 560 tons daily. Meanwhile, Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati called for the start of the second phase of ceasefire talks in Gaza and for sufficient humanitarian aid into Gaza. Speaking at a press conference in Cairo following talks with Maldives Foreign Minister Abdullah Khalil, Abdulati noted that the mediators have successfully resolved the conflict between Israel and Hamas, and it is now time to look ahead. He expressed hope that all parties would start negotiations for the second phase of the ceasefire agreement in Gaza. He also stressed the importance of making urgent efforts to ensure that aid supplies can reach the Gaza Strip without obstruction. Bolivians vote in a presidential runoff on Sunday that marks a decisive rejection of a socialist government and a likely foreign policy shift closer to the United States after decades of frosty relations. The race pits centrist Senator Rodrigo Paz against conservative former president or Tuto Quiroga. Both candidates have pledged to strengthen diplomatic ties with Washington, strained since 2009, and seek US-backed financial support to stabilize Bolivia's fragile economy. And Australia's Labour government defended its $1.62 billion agreement with Nauru to deport hundreds of non-citizens with criminal records over 30 years, as per Home Affairs Minister's announcement on Sunday. The deal, signed in September, grants deportees 30-year work visas in Nauru, a Pacific nation of 12,000. Human Rights Watch has condemned the plan, citing past deaths from medical neglect and suicide among asylum seekers that sent there. Nauru locals voice mixed sentiments about integrating deportees. The policy revives criticism of Australia dumping refugees on small islands with no appeal process for denied visas, sparking human rights debates. And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Turkish Cypriot votes in presidential votes. Kenyans pay last respects to former PM Raila Odinga at burial ceremony in Bondo. Ayodhya glows as the Potsav 2025 begins in Indian state of Uttar Pradesh.
Welcome to Jaipur.
Prepare for the brightest night of the year. Story of Diwali and its diversity. It's time for the Festival of Lights.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj, and voters in breakaway North Cyprus went to the polls on Sunday in presidential election, seen as a key test for reviving talks to reunify the divided island. Incumbent leader Ersin Tata, who supports a two-state solution, faces his main challenger Tufan Arhuman, who backs UN-led negotiations for a federal settlement with Greek Cypriots. 7 candidates are contesting, but the race is expected to be close between Tata and Arhuman, with a runoff likely on October 26 if no one secures a majority. Cyprus has remained divided since 1974 following a Turkish invasion triggered by a Greek-backed coup, ending years of tension after the collapse of a power-sharing administration in 1963. And hundreds gathered in Bondo, Western Kenya, for the private burial of former opposition leader Raila Odinga, who died at the age of 80. His body was flown from Kisumu, where tens of thousands mourned him, chanting Baba and We Are Orphans. The emotional ceremonies across Kenya have left at least 5 dead and dozens injured. Odinga, a key figure in Kenya's return to multi-party democracy, served as Prime Minister from 2008 to 2013 but never won the presidency. His death leaves a leadership gap in the opposition with uncertainty over the future of his movement with alliance in fact with President Ruto. Britain launched a national plan Sunday to train and recruit hundreds of thousands for clean energy jobs, targeting 860,000 by 2030. 5 new colleges will focus on solar, wind and nuclear careers, while schemes aid ex-offenders, school leavers and unemployed workers. Energy Secretary Ed Miliband emphasized meeting demand for plumbers, electricians and welders amid booming renewable and nuclear investments. The plan ensures fair pay and protections for workers in publicly funded projects. Aiming to decarbonize electricity by 2030, Britain plans to double clean energy investment to over £30 billion annually by 2035, boosting energy security. And Pope Leo XIV, the first American-born pontiff, is bringing fresh energy to the Vatican. Known for his focus on peace and reform, he recently canonized 7 new saints at St. Peter's Square in Vatican City. Among them were Bartolo Longo, a former occult follower who became a devout Catholic, and Armenian Archbishop Ignatius Maloyan, executed in 1915 during the Ottoman deportations. Senior Bishop Cardinal Marcello shared their stories before the Pope read the proclamations. Other saints included Pedro Torot, Vincenza Maria Polloni, Carmen Rendeles Martinez, Maria Troncati and Jose Gregorio Hernandez. Italian President Sergio Mattarella was also seen attending the ceremony. India's Chandrayaan-2 orbiter made history on Saturday with its Chandra's Atmospheric Composition Explorer 2 instrument, capturing the first ever observation of a coronal mass ejection impacting the moon's exosphere on May 10, 2024. ISRO reported a surge in dayside lunar exosphere pressure with neutral atom density rising over tenfold, confirming theoretical models. The moon's fragile surface-bound exosphere, lacking a magnetic shield, is highly sensitive to solar wind and coronal mass ejections, which liberate surface atoms. This milestone offers insights into lunar space, weather and challenges for future lunar bases, as extreme solar events could temporarily alter the environment. And on the eve of Diwali, President Draupadi Murmu extends greetings to her fellow citizens. In a message, the President has said, and I quote, "Diwali, one of India's most popular festivals, is celebrated with great zeal and enthusiasm. The festival symbolizes the triumph of light over darkness, knowledge over ignorance, and good over evil. Celebrated across the country with immense fervor, the auspicious occasion of Diwali gives the message of mutual affection and brotherhood. On this day, devotees worship Goddess Lakshmi, the deity of wealth and prosperity. The festival of joy is also an occasion for self-reflection and self-improvement. This festival is also an opportunity to help and support the deprived and the needy and to bring joy into their lives. I urge everyone to celebrate Diwali safely, responsibly and in an environment-friendly manner. May this Diwali bring happiness, peace and prosperity to all." Unquote. And Ayodhya is glowing as the Deepots of 2025 celebrations continue with full grandeur. The visuals are surfacing of the holy city, which aims to set a Guinness World Record by lighting over 2.6 million diyas across 56 banks of River Saryu. Themed Ayodhya, City of Light and Devotion, the ghats are adorned with diya-shaped lights. A major attraction is the 32-feet Pushpak Viman at Ram Ki Peri, showcasing scenes from the Ramayana. CM Yogi Adityanath is leading the Deepots of celebrations in Ayodhya with 33,000 volunteers, featuring an 80,000 diya rangoli and virtual diya lighting through the Divya Ayodhya app. He reached Ram Ki Peri on the banks of River Saryu, where he was seen actively participating in one of the city's grandest celebrations. The event showcased Ayodhya's rich culture and devotion, drew massive crowds and significantly boosted tourism. In Tamil Nadu, people flock in large numbers to buy crackers ahead of Diwali in capital city Chennai. The scent of festivity is in the air, with people rejoicing the festival. In Tamil Nadu, the excitement for Diwali is palpable as the streets come alive with bustling crowds eager to purchase firecrackers. The markets are filled with a vibrant mix of colors and sounds, the shops displaying array of firecrackers from sparkles to grand rockets. Due to rainfall, the work of crafting and decorating the effigies of Narakasura continued across the state. The celebration of Narakasura's defeat is organized only in the state of Goa. The effigies are now ready and will be opened to the public for viewing. To avoid traffic congestion, traffic police will be deployed at multiple points throughout the night. Diwali will be celebrated on Monday with the burning of Narakasura effigies. Markets are bustling with people shopping for Diwali. And in some good news from the central Indian state of Chhattisgarh, in a hopeful sign of peace, 10 tribal youths, including 2 women from the previously affected Mola Manpur Ambagar Choki district, have passed the Staff Selection Commission and Chhattisgarh Police Constable exams. This is the first time youths from this area have achieved such success in both physical and written tests. This breakthrough signals a victory not just for the candidates but for the entire region, demonstrating a dramatic shift from a mindset of militancy to one of mainstream opportunity. The successful candidates were honored at the tactical headquarters of the 27th Battalion of the Indo-Tibetan Border Police. The candidates' academic achievements are directly linked to the ITBP's relentless and precise anti-Naxal operations. The 4th edition of India-Australia Joint Military Exercise Austra-Hind 2025 is currently underway in Perth. An Indian Army contingent comprising 120 personnel participated in the annual exercise that will conclude on 26th of October. The Indian Army contingent is led by a battalion of Gorkha Rifles along with troops from other arms and services. Exercise is aimed at enhancing military cooperation and providing a platform for participating armies to exchange tactics, techniques and procedures in the domains of sub-conventional warfare in urban or semi-urban terrain. And time now for sports news. Australia's stand-in captain Mitchell Marsh led his side to a 7-wicket triumph over India in the rain-affected first one-day international in Perth. Marsh continued his fine run of form, scoring 46 not out, while Philippe playing his first ODI since 2021 due to the absence of Josh Inglis, and Alex Carey supported his skipper with an aggressive 37. Earlier, a quick-fire 38 runs of 31 balls from KL Rahul helped India put up 136 runs for the loss of 9 wickets in 26 overs. Australia needed 131 runs to win, which they reached after losing 3 wickets. The total was adjusted as per the Duckworth-Lewis system. In a frustrating start to the 3-game series, persistent rain forced the players out the field multiple occasions. Now the series moves to Adelaide for the second match on Thursday before concluding in Sydney on Saturday. Here the Knights slammed a magnificent 100 as England reached 288 runs for the loss of 8 wickets against India in the Women's World Cup match in Indore. Knight hit 109 runs off 91 deliveries, which was studded with 15 boundaries and 1 6 as well. Opting to bat first, the England openers set the tone with 73-run partnership with Amy Jones, scoring 56 runs. Deepti Sharma was pick of the bowlers with 4 scalps in 10 overs. India have played 4 matches so far, winning and losing 2 games. They need 2 victories from their remaining 3 matches to stay alive in the semi-final race. Meanwhile, England has played 4 games so far and are unbeaten. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.